So today looks like we're going to be having some old soul. This is much. I don't know if y'all could see that guy on that bottle. That's how I feel right now. It's just old, ragged, and rugged. I don't smoke, but man, it sure like he's going through some things, and so this might be
When you
good
mentioned
for us.
you mentioned smoking, which I quit doing almost over a decade ago, but I still need the nicotine, especially when you mention smoking.
Ah, yeah, that is one vice that never got to me.
Good on
Smoking.
you. I pray it never gets. Holy smokes, man!
That's a
That's
good
a
pour.
big glass.
You're welcome.
Okay.
So yeah, so let's see if this old soul's any good. Cheers. I like it.
Yeah,
I've never had a bourbon I didn't like though.
I have.
It's kind of hard for me not to like
That's
one.
really good. Well,
Yep.
spicy, smooth, and got some kick aftertaste.
Yeah, it's good.
All right. Yeah, clean your death,
Let me get
Mr.
that.
OCD.
There you go.
Well, welcome back to the Hidden Money Unleashed. This is our third episode. I distinctly remember in our last episode, you put me on the spot and you asked something like, tell us how Mike, what got you here? What formed you, Mike? And out of appreciation for that question that you asked me, because I really enjoyed getting put on the spot, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me a little about yourself. You are an amazing tax strategist, an awesome partner to me, and you and I are able to do some amazing things in the tax world together. But what the heck turned you into who you are today?
Didn't start that way for sure. Yeah, I think I grew up in Bedford, Texas, which if you're not from Texas, it's right between Dallas and Fort Worth. I'm like right in the middle. Parents still live in the same house I grew up in. So we moved up to the Dallas area from Houston. I was born in Houston, but was raised kind of in Bedford. So my dad got transferred when I was 3 months old, and we've been here since then. So I don't live in Bedford anymore. Me and my wife, we live in Highland Village, kind of by Louisville Lake, but um, just grew up normal childhood. I played baseball and played with friends, and it was before the time of social media and stuff, so nothing was recorded, nothing's filmed for evidence purposes,
Thank
and
God.
yeah,
Yeah.
and but I mean, went outside. That's what we didn't have internet. We didn't have all these like iPads and stuff, and so I was outside just playing in the yard. Playing Ghostbusters was huge. Ninja Turtles were huge for me back as a kid. Those were still huge now. But yeah, I went to school and I was an AB student growing up, and I never really was excited. I was always good at math and history. Those are kind of two things that don't change. So that's one thing about my personality is I like steady and I don't like a lot of change, which is very hard in our industry now with this tax bill and everything else. But
That is kind of typical though. So you're a person who did not like change, like steady Eddie. That's actually more typical type of person that gravitates towards the accounting profession.
yeah, yeah, math and history doesn't change. It's just is what it is. It's factual. It's straightforward. There's no, in between. So I was honor student in math and history. Graduated high school, played baseball in high school. Was going to go play at some junior colleges or D1. I just didn't get the offers at D1. I got the offers on the junior college side, and after touring the junior college scene, I was like, mm-mm.
Why not?
Because all you do, I don't know. It was like Vernon, junior college. It's a good little baseball junior JUCO out in Texas, but
So you enjoyed baseball, but you weren't so
I did not
passionate
want to go in
about
the
it.
middle of nowhere and play. Like the fields were worse than our high school fields because in North Texas where we are, I mean, we have a lot of kids and it's very nice facilities. And you go to these JUCOs in the middle of nowhere where they don't have the funding that public schools do or whatever. They
Your
might not
prairie
have as
dogs
much. Yeah,
out in the
it's
bait.
it's gonna be it's good. It's rougher, and it's a grind. If you're gonna go to junior college or go into that in baseball, there's hundreds of thousands of kids playing. It's very competitive, and you're traveling. It's just it went to life for me. The only way I was going to play baseball in college is if I got a D1 offer, which didn't come. So hung it up. I went to TCU. My whole idea, my plan was going to be a youth pastor. So I wanted to be involved with youth, kind of get into ministry. Took my first Bible class, bombed it, got really, really hard. It's like if you have a church background, if you go to church, the answer is always Jesus. It's like, well, whatever the question is, the answer is typically Jesus. It's a good place to start. Well, when you're being tested on genealogy, timelines,
Yeah.
and being tested on actual Testament, New Testament stuff, it is hard. It is
Yeah.
actually very hard. And so I got a D in it. And so I was like, well, okay, well, I like people, and I like Jesus. I like people. I thought this was going to be a good match. Not so much. And so me and my friends were hanging out one day at our apartment.
Actually, can I just talk about that for 1 second? Because I have a similar shared experience with that. When I was first born again, I did not like this profession. I thought, as I was first born again, I first started really reading the Bible and studying. I'm like, man, I'm basically just a glorified tax collector. And they don't talk very well about tax collectors in the
No.
Bible. And I just wasn't passionate about it. I hadn't found our flow that we have now, where it is fun. Um, but I was in love with Jesus. I was one of those, new born again Christians, and that's all I could think about, all I could talk about. I was way too dogmatic about it. I think most of my friends on Facebook ended up hating me and defriending me because all I talked about was Jesus, and I was like a Bible thumping kid. So I thought I need to find something in ministry. So I actually went to get a master's in theology at UTD. Or
Mhm.
what was it called? Dallas, DTS, Dallas Theological Seminary here in Dallas. And I was all on fire for it, excited. I went to class, and it was so fun that first day. And then I started my homework, and we had some crazy classes, like a hermeneutics class and another class. There was nothing about Jesus. Not in the first 6 weeks was it about Jesus. It was all about, how do you read the Bible? Read this one passage, literally one verse in the scripture, and come up with 50 observations about a 13-word verse. And you come up with like 5 or 6, obviously, but
Yep.
then you're just making stuff up. And it was, I mean, I don't mean to slam Bible theologians. If you're called to that, it's wonderful. But for someone who's practical and just wanted to learn to grow in Christ and work with Christ, and um, it's a whole different world. For me, it was, you got to be a student, like a PhD kind of person, to want that stuff.
You're viewing the book through a different lens, not a
Yes.
relational lens, but an educational, historical text. And you need that to teach it.
Yeah.
But it siphons the relationship out of it,
Yeah.
which was hard for me. I mean,
I
it's
mean,
very hard to part from the relational aspect and just read it like as a study book,
yeah. It
because
was
that's not what it's
difficult.
meant for. But
Unless you're
it
going to
is
be a teacher of it.
unless you're going to
Yes.
teach it, right?
So I
So
can't be a teacher of the Bible.
no, no. So yeah, I failed my Bible class at TCU, and so I was not off to a good start. My grades were suffering my freshman year. I had actually a church vocation grant, so my church actually paid half my tuition at TCU because I was going to go into ministry.
So your church sent you to college and you failed and lost your
But then the
scholarship.
deal was, once I graduate, I go work for the church
Mm.
for a set number of years. And I was like, cool, I'll sign on for that. But side road.
You failed your church, Kev.
So I failed my church, I failed the class, I failed myself, failed everybody. But I was just hanging out with my roommates one day. We were just having some drinks, playing, I think, Xbox, playing some game on Xbox together with me and my roommates. And when you hit your junior year, or you're going into your junior year, you have to actually specialize. You can't just do your basics. And so I just turned to my friend. I was like, "Man, what are you signing up for tomorrow? What are you doing?" And he goes, "I'm just doing accounting and finance. Those two go really well together. You can get a good career out of it." And I go, "Hey, what are you doing?" He goes, "Accounting and finance." I was like, "Me too." So that is literally how I decided what I was going to do in life. Was I wanted to follow my friends. It made sense. I mean, you can get an accounting major, and then spend another maybe 15 hours and get a double major in finance, because the classes kind of overlap. And so
So in retrospect, God had a different calling for
he
you.
had a different calling, and he put the right people in my life to influence me to go in that direction. That's the way I view it. But yeah, I was an AB student in college. After I got into kind of what I was called to do, which was accounting and finance, I was an AB student. And so got my master's of accounting, just did a 5-year term. I didn't do any victory laps. I did my undergrad in 4, and then did my master's right after for 5. Then got my first job out in Dallas at a firm that's no longer there. It's called Wagner Eubank and Nichols at the time, but now they got bought out by a different, bigger firm, which is very typical in our industry. But got my training wheels there. So we were in down. I lived in downtown Dallas, lived that whole scene, just living paycheck to paycheck, living in a high rise, thinking I'm living the dream, being 24 and stupid, and
Yeah.
eventually grew up. I got a new job out in Grapevine, which is about 15 miles west of Dallas, and bought my first house. And bought my first house in 2008, which is
Nice.
very good timing. And so that real estate bubble happened, and the market just tanked. And so I jumped on it. And the government had a first time home buyer credit that year to kind of incentivize people buying homes. And so I got paid $8,000 by the government to buy my first house. So that got me all my furniture. I brought to closing what I could, put as very little down. I was paying like PMI. I didn't have any money, but I wanted it.
So this is as your partner, I just now realized this is not just a one-time thing. This is a recurring pattern that Kevin seems to have really well in timing the purchase of new houses.
Yes.
This last house, your current house, when you bought it, I thought you were nuts though for the house that you bought. Um, but it was literally months before interest rates went up in 2021, right?
Yes.
2022.
Yeah.
You got this amazing house and you were paying, if someone else were to buy that house today, you were literally paying less than half, probably about a third of what someone else would pay. Because
And that's why we
so
went above it.
time this real estate
Yeah.
very well.
I need to get into real estate, I guess.
Yes.
I just fall into it. But yeah, I've been very lucky with the purchase. My first house, I think the interest rate was in the twos. I've always had good credit. That was one thing. I always, I'm anti Dave Ramsey's education in a little bit. I do everything on credit cards. Ever since I was 16, I had a credit card, always paid it off. My credit was like dang near 800. So I can get any loan I wanted at that age. And so, yeah, I got the best rate. And yeah, so bought my first house and had a job, got my CPA certification, and left that firm. It was a family firm, and this is kind of the issue with family firms is, if your last name's not on the door, you're not going anywhere. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a generational business, and you're not in it. So I saw the writing on the wall and then kind of transitioned to a different firm out in Fort Worth, and then that's when I found you because I was running the rat race. I was working 60, 70 hours a week. I had a new marriage at the time. She had some kids. I had a kid. So we had 3 kids total, and I was working 70 hours a week trying to build my career, and it just strained our marriage. There's a lot more to that story, but
Yeah.
eventually that marriage went away, and then found you through that. So you helped me actually through a divorce. I came on to work with you. You reached out, gosh, 6, 7 years ago. It would have been 2018. So yeah, it was a hard time, and I came to work with you because I mean that the job was.
You took a pay cut to come
I
work
took a
with me.
pay cut to come work with you, but you offered actual work life. Like I was working 70, you're like, you're not gonna work 70 here.
That was then.
That was them. Little did I know, once you become partner, that changes.
Yes.
But that's good. That's okay. And we manage our schedules, I think, so much better. As you mature, you kind of set those boundaries. You learn. And this was before, like in my prior marriage, when I was working 70, I was in office. We didn't have remote. This was pre-COVID. This was your butts in a seat in an office for 70 hours a week, and you're driving to the office on Saturdays. Like now, it's kind of easy. Like not easy, but if you're working overtime, you just get out of bed, get your coffee, go into your home office, log in, take a break, go play with the kids, go have some lunch with your family, come back. I mean, you can just, it is so fluid now, but that can also get you in trouble too, because you can work so long and you don't even know it
Yep.
because you're in and out, in and out, in and out. And you're like, dang, that was like 5 hours I've been in here. So that's kind of the big story. I think,
It's a big long story.
it is a
lot of
big long
details.
story, a lot of details.
That's
I'm a
what I thought.
detail oriented man.
You are very detail oriented. And we would want you'd expect that in the CPA, and you want that, which is amazing to me. Why I ever became a CPA, because unless it's details I am excited about, like specific parts of the tax code, I can't stand the details. Yeah, it's too much for me. But thank you for being my
Yeah.
partner.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of in between on my story, but hey, from a very high level, that's kind of how I got here.
When did you start loving what we do? Honest. It was that.
Honest when I started to love the job here, it was, gosh, it was probably after some things happened internally. After that time passed, there
After
was
our
some
untied
structural
or
changes.
yes.
There were some structural changes and some kind of mixing of the hierarchy a little bit. Once that passed, and it was just you and I, then at that point, I was like, I could breathe. I could be like, okay, this is what I envisioned when I came on. I didn't envision private equity and this other. I didn't envision this. This wasn't what I wanted. So once that passed, I think that's when I really started loving the job. I've always loved tax planning, and I was always good at it. So that aspect of the job I've always loved. But actually knowing I love it here, that's kind of when that season transitioned out.
Yeah, that was a tough season. We tried a merger with some good friends of ours that were also in private equity. We tried to change the way we do things. It was a rough season. We got out of it, but looking back, it was a great season for our growth,
Mhm.
for your growth, for my growth, for this firm's growth, because we were forced to figure out who we really want to be, what is the value and that we offer, plus what is the passion we can bring into it, and then we had to learn that through the hard times, and then we started applying that. We got rid of bookkeeping, which
Mhm.
was a hard choice to make, but when we did it, it was like a millstone was lifted off our neck, and
Yeah.
boom, we were at the races, and
Yeah.
it's been fun since
Being a
then.
business owner, that'll change you.
Yeah.
Being an employee is one thing. I mean, no risk. You just show up, do your job, and if you're doing your job well, you have a paycheck. When you're the owner and you're making calculated risks. You're taking chances on things. It's your capital. It's your money. It's your butt.
Yeah,
So you are definitely carrying a different load of stress, but it's been fun.
I wouldn't trade it for anything,
Yeah,
but it is a lot harder than I expected.
it's
I remember my first years in accounting. I was at some really good firms. I was at Price Waterhouse Coopers Venture Capital and Private Equity Group, and I knew everything. I mean, retrospect, I was an idiot, but in those days, I thought I knew everything and I was the smartest one in the room. And I saw all the things my bosses were doing wrong, and I thought I'd be so much better at it than this. And what a nice life they have. Um, no, it's a lot different.
yeah,
And then when you're actually making the decisions, you realize you don't know everything. You hardly know anything.
yeah.
You just got to do the best you can do and be willing to pivot when you make bad choices.
You got to learn from experience. You learn from the hard ways. I mean, life is the best teacher. I mean, that's that you can't get this education in school. That's why college education. I mean, it's needed. I mean, you got to prove that you can dedicate yourself
Yeah.
to the industry, learn it a little bit, learn the basics, and prove that you can enact and pass the basics of what this industry requires. But once you get to the actual working environment, I don't ever remember going, "Oh, I remember this in college. I remember exactly this." Nothing of the nothing,
Well,
nothing.
once a year or so.
It was just all like I had internships all through college. I worked, I had internships, and I was just a grunt tax preparer, and you just learn in the trenches, and then you
Mhm.
learn it, and you grow, and you just keep grinding and go and go.
Actually different. I don't like the university model, the college model. I think it's got I mean, I get it. You're learning if people can truly dedicate themselves to get something hard,
Are they
they
smart enough to
but
even grasp?
and you get a little bit of their work ethic, but I think there's so much in a 4-year degree, or in our case, 5 years of schooling. I think you could excel. There's so much stuff that is not related to your profession.
Yeah.
So many required classes that that are worthless in my career that I had to take. I like the idea of a trade school. I like the idea of letting someone pick. I was talking about this with my neighbor. He's an engineer, and they've got this incredibly smart son who's really good friends with my friend or with my son, and he wants to be an engineer, but he hates math. He hates English. He hates doing composition and writing and studying Shakespeare and stuff.
Mm,
He shouldn't have to.
yeah.
And I was talking to the and this guy's his father's a really successful engineer, brilliant guy. I'm sure way off of the Mensa scale. He's so smart. I said, how many of all the years you spent in college and getting your graduate degree to be this engineer, how many of those years were actually purposeful for you? Did they relate to your career? He's like, at most 2 years, probably 18 months.
Yeah.
So I think we ought to offer that kind of model. We have so many people going to school coming out in horrible debt. that they're paying for a good portion of their life, and
Mhm.
it hurts them.
Yeah.
It weights them down, and it's not worth it. I think we ought to change the model, but I'm not king or president.
Yeah.
That, yeah.
And I mean, you don't have to have you don't have to have a degree to be a tax preparer.
Mm,
You don't. Does it help? Yeah, because it's going to network you. That's college. College networks you.
yeah.
College trains you, matures you in certain areas. But you
You
can
got to get
go.
your CPA though.
You do have to have it to get your CPA, but just to be an EA or a tax preparer, you just need probably a high school education. I don't even know if you even have to have a GED. You just need to be able to have a pulse and
Mhm.
then know what you're doing. But I would be weary of those preparers anyway. But
Well, I've worked with a couple really good enrolled agents that were not CPAs. They didn't have graduate degrees. They're pretty darn good. And I worked with a lot of CPAs with their 5-year degrees and straight A transcripts that are terrible.
yeah,
So,
that's very true. And the one thing they don't tell you in school is being a CPA is 20% numbers. It is 80% relationship and client relationship. Once you if you want to progress in your career, if you just want to be a tax preparer, yeah, you don't need to maintain hey, give me your docs. I don't need to know know you.
yeah.
But in order to maintain a really good client base, it's all relational. And you can't teach that to some people. Some people are just stuck in that, hey, I'm just gonna
They're
crank out work.
transactional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we're also trying to do different, which I like. Is we
What
actually want to know our clients.
what is the top thing that you love the most about your job? Or top couple?
I would
Hard
say
to know.
it's the top thing I love is gonna be we get to do things like this. Like we get to
Oh, this
have
is cool.
yeah, this is I mean, I don't know where else I would be where I could, have a drink after lunch and just talk to a friend, a partner, and then have this be a business expense.
That is
So that
nice.
this is my work. This is my job. This is a cool job.
Which we do for 30 minutes
30
once a
minutes
week if
once a
we're
week.
able to. Yeah.
But from a bigger standpoint, I think I like the way the industry is going and how we're on the front. So I'm excited about our planning. Like typically CPAs, 80% of their book is preparation, maybe 90% of this preparation. You got some bookkeeping, payroll, and then you got planning. We want to flip the script and we want to be 80% planning, 20% compliance. Um, or 50-50. Heck, if we're preparing half and then preparing half the returns that we're planning for,
Heck yeah.
that's fine. But I like the planning aspect. I like the proactiveness. I like actually saving clients and providing value. Now, preparing a tax return is value, but the true value that I find in our industry is the actual planning and
Yeah.
saving a tax.
I
So
think
that's what
that's
I love.
another reason we're good partners because I love it too. I think I spent a lot of time in this career. I've been in it now over 25 years. That's
Hmm.
shocking. Um, it just amazes me how quickly you actually get old. But I spent so much time, not just in my career, in my life, um, trying to figure out what was I meant for, trying to find my some rhythm in life that I had enjoyed and I felt like my calling,
Hmm.
you know? Um, and it's only been in the last 5 years or so that I've gotten to get out of the normal slog of tax preparation and accounting CPA work and be able to focus on the tax strategy.
Hmm.
And man, I finally found it. That's my niche. That's where however God designed my brain, as flawed as it is, he gave me this gift. And now that I'm able to work almost every day in my gift
Yeah.
instead of 99% of the day focus doing bookkeeping or something.
Yeah.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love the tax strategy. It's fun.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so what do you feel is your favorite part outside of the planning, like from the day-to-day minutia that we have to handle between, staffing, tax bills coming through, strategy,
Now this is going to
what's
sound very cliche, but I have been blessed, especially at this firm, with the ability to change people's lives for the better. Um, Not as bigly as a Steve Jobs or an Elon Musk has gotten to do, but on the individual basis, whether it's our team members, they do get a work-life balance here. It's not an easy job to work here.
no.
They work hard, but they actually have the opportunity to balance work with their life. I couldn't find that when I was working for other people, and I hoped and prayed and tried my tail off, and thankfully, with your help, I think we've created a pretty decent balance for our team, with clients, man. There's that one time I remember when the light bulb went off when I was back at Travis Wolf, and I actually partner told me when my bosses told me this client's deal, he just had to pay that much when they sold their business. That's how it was. And then we got working in it and studying that. That was back in the day of 1244 small business stock instead of 1202. And he qualified for it. And somehow that made it all the way through the relationship with the CPA. Who was my partner, was a very smart partner. He didn't, for some reason, he didn't think it applied, but it did turn out applied. And going and telling that husband and wife who had slaved for so many years building this business and sold it for not a ton of money, but enough to retire decently off of. But they were thinking they're gonna have to pay half of it to the IRS.
Hmm.
And when it came said all said and done, they got to keep more than 95% of it.
Yeah.
And when told them that and explained it to them, and the partner said, "Yeah, he's right." The the shock and the life change I saw them experience in that few moments, I've been hooked ever since. And we get to do that a lot with clients.
Yeah.
A lot. That is fun.
It is fun. It's fun to actually make an impact on our clients' lives, and
Yeah.
accounting doesn't do that as much. Accounting,
But you
not
don't
many
get there with
people,
bookkeeping, do you?
yeah, bookkeeping does not be like, man, thank you so much. My books are clean.
We're grinding out a small 1040,
Yeah,
still
it's
get to
just
do it.
when you could say, hey, we saved you $100,000 this year.
Yeah.
That is, and then now we can reinvest that. Now, very, very few times in tax do you actually save tax. It's a deferral, but it's
Right.
time value money and all that, like what we always.
But if you keep planning, you can potentially defer it all the way until you die, and then it is permanent saves. But you told me about this. I didn't see it or I wasn't in it. I think it was last week, a new prospective client you met with. And this is the guy that was buying the airplane, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
No, he's a current client, and we had a discovery call with him.
oh, was it?
It was an after, yeah,
And he wanted to pay you for the meeting
yeah,
afterwards, which was free because he was a current client. That's
yeah.
right. To talk just for 30 seconds, 1 minute. What
Oh, I could
happened
be
there
longer than
and
this.
how did it feel? We don't have to get in the details. This Unleash is not about tax strategies,
Yeah,
but how did that feel?
it was good. It was to see, like, at the end of this call, the facts of this guy's case is he's an attorney. He's an attorney, but he also flies planes on the side. Like he's a pilot. And he often flies to his clients or he flies to certain whatever it is. And so I was like, why don't you just buy the plane? When you buy the plane, we can allocate it as a business expense. You create an LLC, you have your law firm pay your LLC for the use of that plane. You fly it, it's your ownership, you own it in your LLC, and we get to depreciate the plane. Um, it's matches his life, it matches his hobby, it matches everything, and we can get
Almost good.
100% business use of it because he has 2 planes. He actually has a plane that he's now gonna fly personally, and he has a plane that he's using 100% for business. I was like, "Yeah, perfect. We're gonna depreciate this plane. Next year, we're gonna flip roles, and you're gonna fly this plane for business, and you're gonna transition this one to personal." Um, but he was just like, "This is amazing." Like, he's making $1.2 million this year. We're gonna get his taxable income probably in the 200s. Like, we're
Wow.
wiping away $1 million of income.
You're wiping almost $500,000 away.
And it's not just the plane, we're doing additional stuff,
Yeah.
but it's a combination of probably 3 strategies we're implementing, but it's gonna save him, I mean, $1 million, I mean, $370,000 in tax, and he's like, "You need to charge me for this meeting." I was like, "Honestly, man," I was like, "This is." So what we do is when we prepare a client's tax return, we have a free discovery call with Mike or I at the end of it. So we want to say, how'd the prep process go? I want feedback on your experience of the preparation. But then I also want to pivot into what's going on this year and next year or whatever. So we want to just proactively plan. And so that's all the discovery call is. It's a free meeting with Mike or I at the end of
I
every
don't
tax call.
always go this cold, but it is fun when it's not like he had
It
to
just gets
change anything.
no.
He was doing what he
He was
wanted.
doing it. We just changed the facts of what he was doing. We tied some loose ends up with creating LLCs and all this kind of stuff and getting contracts between his law firm and then his aviation company now. So there's an actual lease agreement.
And in that 30 minutes, you saved him almost
300. Yeah. And
$400,000.
then,
That
yeah.
feels good.
It does
Kinda did
it
it.
does feel good, and then he's like, "Please let me pay you." And I was like, "No, this is the value." I was like, "The way you can pay me is go to Google and give me a review," and he did. Um, but I was like, "If we implement these 2 other strategies, we need to do a little bit more due diligence, then I will charge you something at that point." I mean, we do need to get paid.
And we get paid well.
If especially if we save them 400 grand or
Yeah.
370. So, but it's about relationship. That's kind of what this
Mm.
whole thing is if we can give so much value in 30 minutes that he's never received in his career. He's been earning this for 20 years. And I was like, man, if you came to me not 20 years ago, I wouldn't have known what I'm doing. But if you came to any CPA who is a tax strategist or planner, you have been overpaying your taxes by 300K a year times 20 years. That's the level I would say that is
Yes.
impacting him,
And that's like,
but we can change it
if
now.
if he would have changed it 20 years ago, I just want to point out, it would have saved $6 million in taxes paid, according to my quick calculations. But you consider the power of compounding,
Mhm.
the time value of money, he'd have 15, $20 million in his pocket that he doesn't have.
Yeah, and yeah, that's, no better time to plant a tree than today. You can't go back and plant a tree yesterday,
Is
so
that what motivates you a lot of times though? Now, when you're meeting with younger clients and people are just on here and they're thinking, "Whoa, you're a tax strategist. I just need H&R Block to do my
yeah,
tax return. I don't want to pay more than $500 to get my tax return
yeah.
done." But you push hard. I do. We both do. Is that a
It's
big motivation for you?
it's education. I mean, it's rewiring their thought of taxes,
Yeah.
and that's the whole point of our podcast. That's the whole point of it. That's the whole point of everything we do is to educate the public, saying taxes are not your enemy. They can be an actual asset to you, so long as you wield that weapon properly.
Yeah.
You do it right, and you do it within the guidelines that are set before you. But if you play the game the way it's supposed to be played, your wealth is gonna just snowball.
Hmm.
And it's all education because people just, "Oh, tax, I don't wanna mess it," and that's the battle we face,
Yeah.
but
Want to make sure we are not going to overtime. I think we still have a little bit more time. We wanted to keep these done in what, 30 minutes? Is that what we decided? I think.
yeah, something
We
like
got
that.
about 5, 10 more minutes. Five.
What else you got?
Um, Then I feel like I'm a talk show host.
I
You
know,
know, like
interviewing me.
Dr. Phil, whose office, by the way, his studio, I think, is just like 5 miles that way. His helicopter
Oh, yeah,
flies
you
over
were
it
there.
sometimes. I haven't been there yet, but we're going to try to record something there. One of our clients has a good network relationship there. We're going to try to actually do something with hidden money at that episode.
Can we do it on Dr. Phil's stage?
I doubt it.
I'll grow a
It
mustache.
might be. Yeah, I doubt it. So, anyways, I feel like Dr. Phil. I don't want to feel that way. So, your turn to ask questions or take us in a different direction.
Well, I know what you probably wanna talk about, I think.
Really?
I think so.
Hmm.
I don't have a soapbox here, but I could probably find one to put you on it. Um, because the whole Elon and Trump thing has taken.
Didn't I tell you earlier on I did not want to talk about that on a recording? But okay.
No, we don't have to
We're up.
go that
Oh,
road.
we can go there.
I just think it's an interesting because it has taken such a 180.
Yes. So far, I mean, Trump hasn't come
This is
out
why
crazy.
politics and the news cycle just drive me nuts, is because I remember Trump and Elon doing an interview when he was inaugurated back in like January or February, and they were like best buds. They were sitting
Mhm.
side by side. They're like, yeah, the country's going to try to take us apart and all this stuff. And then Trump releases this big, beautiful bill, and Elon's like kind of ripping it up a bit. Do you know what parts of that bill?
I do
What was
because
he ripping up?
I can't. That's a lot of you like sports, right?
Yeah.
I love reading about politics. Um, Your Super Bowl comes every year. My Super Bowl comes once every 4 years. Presidential election. I stay up till 4 in the morning. Well, it used to be earlier, but I stay up. I have 5 screens going on, tracking results everywhere.
Such a nerd.
I love it. It's my hobby. I like it.
That's fair.
But yeah, so I know what he's annoyed about. But let me just start. Like God's grace, I hope you and I never do such a 180 in our partnership, like I see Trump and Elon doing today. It's crazy. So Elon, is now not part of the government, not part of the administration. He needs to focus on his businesses, and Tesla and has taken a big hit. He's got some struggles at SpaceX with the Starship, which is an amazing thing. We took the kids down there to see them. I can't wait to watch the launch
It's
where they
cool.
go to Mars the first time. This thing's huge. It's
Yeah.
bigger than the Saturn V rocket that sent man to the moon.
Yeah.
This thing is huge and it's reusable. And they catch these things. Well, they haven't caught the Starship yet, but they catch the booster. But anyways, he needs to focus on that, and he has a fiduciary responsibility to his stockholders to also focus on that. That big beautiful bill took away a lot of tax credits that helped drive Tesla sales and everywhere
Credits are out the
else's.
door under this
Yeah.
draft. Yeah.
But I mean, there was a quote of Elon back in December, and I even think another one in January where he said, "Hey, we don't need those tax credits. It's better for the country if we don't have them." That might be part of the reason he's going anti-Trump now. But there's also that bill is not it's not a perfect bill. There's a lot of beautiful things about it.
It's big.
It is big. We can agree on that. It's quite large.
That's the only non-objective thing in his title. Is it beautiful? Yeah, there's some beautiful parts.
Oh, and it is a bill. It's big and
It's big. It's a big bill.
Yeah.
Is it beautiful?
There are some parts that I think, as a tax guy, are very, very sexy.
Yes.
Or beautiful. But it does. My biggest gripe about it is there's no permanency. Come up with all these tax benefits, which drives the economy, and they expire again in 4 or 5 more years, just like the last Trump's Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017. That does not help the economy. Business owners, and we need predictability to know how to outlay our capital, and the more capital we're comfortable outlaying, the more the economy grows. Only good for 4 or 5 years. I don't like that. It does add to the deficit in its own right too. And that's something that I agree with Elon Musk. It adds a lot to the deficit. Now, I don't agree with what the CBO says. The Congressional Budget Office is very, very biased, in my opinion, incredibly biased. There was this recent article out, and I believe it. Not one of the staffers in the CBO has ever contributed to a Republican campaign. A good piece of them, a plurality of them, contributed to Democrat campaigns. I've also seen how they scored the Inflation Reduction Act, which you and I knew was going to increase inflation.
Yes.
And they claimed it was only going to be about $300 billion cost. We knew it was going to be over $1 trillion. And now the CBO says, yeah, it's going to be over $1 trillion after the fact. But they said it was going to cost a whole lot less. They looked during the TGIA back in 2017. They said it was going to cost and add more to the deficit, somewhere around more than 2.5 times what it actually did cost. So they exaggerate the cost of Trump stuff, and they majorly under-exaggerate the cost or hide the cost of Biden stuff. So I don't believe the CBO. Every time we have lowered tax rates, reduced tax rates, every single time in the history of this country, since we've had income tax since the 1913 amendment, every single time it's been lowered, tax receipts go up. There's a reason for that. There's a lot of reasons for that. Read Adam Smith's invisible hand theory. Just look at history. You like history. It doesn't change. The fact is that these tax cuts will bring in a lot more money to the government, just like Trump's first tax cuts did. So I don't believe in the CBO, but it is currently, the way it stands, it's going to cost more money. I don't like that. I think it ought to be revenue neutral. But the problem is you've got a 3-person majority in Congress. A lot of these people are in very Democrat states, in states that Trump did not win. They want to be reelected, like the SALT cap, which you're in love of raising. I'm adamantly against it.
Because it personally affects and helps me.
You know what? You get rid of that SALT cap increase, and suddenly it costs, according to the CBO, about $400 billion less than they're saying it's going to cost. So anyways, they have to do that to get enough people to vote for it. I don't like that. I hate compromise when you know it's not right. But apparently the only way to get things done in DC is through compromise. So Brooke, one of our managers here, she thinks it's funny how I love Elon. I love all things Elon. The only stock I actually own, individual stock, is Tesla. And I told her about the breakup yesterday between Trump and Elon. She's like, and I said, man, this is worse than when my parents got divorced. She comes in, really? I thought for sure you'd be behind Elon. I was like, no, actually, I
You're
think
objective.
this bill's important.
You're objective.
I love Elon.
Yeah.
And I appreciate what Donald Trump's doing for us. I don't think I love the guy, but I would vote for him again if I had to. I wasn't happy I had to vote 3 times, but he gets stuff done for the better of our country. Don't like how he does it.
No.
But he does good for us. In this case, I'm for Trump's big but not beautiful bill. And I wish Elon would be a little nicer to Trump, but I am looking forward to seeing when Trump fixes this
drama. Yeah, it's all this little political drama.
I mean, Trump is so far abstained from going after Elon like he has everyone else.
Trump's going to take a high road on something?
That would be awesome if it did, and I would
He
respect
can-
Trump more for it, but no way. It's
He can
Donald
come
Trump.
out with and actually have self-control over what he wants to do.
We know all
Or
things are
this is all a
possible
game.
in
This
Christ
could all
Jesus.
be a game. This all could be like
could be.
Trump. Elon could have gone to Trump and be like, "Look, for my shareholder, I gotta do this." And maybe there's kind of some sort of understanding between the
It's
two.
possible. I don't think so because the stuff going on is really hurting the likelihood this bill's going to pass the Senate now. They're losing major momentum.
You think it's just going to get marked up? We're going to go back to the drawing board?
Definitely getting marked up by the Senate. We already knew that, but it might be getting marked up a lot more. And you got Republicans in Congress now that voted for it already that says, yeah, I don't really like it either. I don't know what that's going to do. So I doubt Trump was okay with this happening. Seriously doubt it.
Yeah.
And I also doubt that Trump's going to show self-control and not fighting back, because that's one thing he does, right or wrong. And a lot of
He's
states are just
consistent.
right. He fights back. Someone
He's
attacks him, he
consistently.
attacks them back 100
You
times.
shoot him in the ear, he'll
So,
stand up and fight you.
I'm kind of looking forward to see how two of my favorite famous people are going to fight now, because Trump's going to come out.
Yeah, it's a wild time. It is a wild time, but
Thanks for getting my politics on record now on the internet. I appreciate
it's
that.
who you are.
Kevin.
I think honestly, because you're not Republican, you're definitely not
I'm
Democrat.
more libertarian.
You're not on either side. You're what's best for the country and what's best for your family, and you're objective. You really are
socially liberal, fiscally conservative, but most of all, I'm just going to say it. The only solution for all the problems we have in this country and the rest of the world is not Republicans. It's not Democrats.
No.
It's Jesus Christ. And if and when everyone in the world would turn to him, everything would be fine, or a lot better. And if and when he comes back, it's going to be fixed.
Yeah, that is a very good dream, but would not.
No, we still have to be practical. We have to be good stewards of what we're given, so we can't stay just out of the fray. But anyways, thanks for getting me on the record. I think this is a good time. You do this each time.
You're welcome.
We've got a week to plan next week. I am going to submarine you, man.
Okay,
it's going to happen.
I'll be waiting.
You'll get it.
So next week you can just jab some random question in there and see if I float or sink.
I am going to. And what a perfect segue. Tune in next week for Hidden Money's Unleashed podcast.
For when I drown.
Kevin loses his temper and maybe even cries.
If you can make me cry, that would be must see.
On another note, if you love tax strategy, you want to make a major difference in your financial life, please like and subscribe our podcast, Hidden Money or Unleashed. Thank you very much.
Thanks all.